Daily Devotionals with open hearts and open minds. First United Methodist Church in Pueblo, Colorado presents Hope and Coffee with Pastor Hugo Venegas.
Hi, this is Hugo Venegas and welcome to Hope and Coffee. We're doing our Bible study in 1 Peter chapter 3, and I know that we're supposed to go on to verses 19 through 22, and there's a lot of meat and a lot of bones in those verses, but I have been thinking about this study, and I want us to go back to verse 17 because I want us to camp there for a couple more sessions, because there are two things that I think Peter is really after in terms of helping the believers how to live in times of great suffering. And I want us to identify what those things are because they apply to our current situation that the whole world is living through. So in verse 17, Peter says to the believers, "It is better if it is God's will to suffer for doing good than for doing evil." You see, this whole study on suffering, Peter wants to do two things. Number one, he wants us to change our thinking about living in times of suffering. And he wants us to change our thinking about God. Now, notice that he says, if it is God's will, it is better for you to suffer for doing what is good than for doing what is evil. Now, what Peter is assuming, he's not sure, but he knows that at times God is passive in suffering. That God allows life to take its course, that God allows human beings to use their own decision, whether smart or not so smart, to do their own thing. God allows us to do our own thing at times. Sometimes he steps in, sometimes he doesn't step in. He is not the cause of suffering. He allows it. He is passive in suffering, and that's what Peter wants us to understand, that sometimes God allows bad things to happen in our lives. We see this in the book of Job. The only reason why Job suffered was because Satan wanted to challenge God and say, Job only loves you. Job only serves you because you have blessed him with all these good things. You have prospered him. You have given him a lot of family, a lot of cattle, and he was the wealthiest man that lived in the ancient world. And Satan says, take all those things away and you'll see who'll curse you to your face. And God says, all right, just don't kill him. Do whatever you want. And in all the things that Satan did, inflicted pain, took his family away, his sons died, his daughters died, his livestock was taken, his whole economic livelihood, even his own health was destroyed. And in spite of all that, Job had the integrity to still love God. Even his wife said, Job, curse God and die. And he says, woman, you está loca de la cabeza. You're very crazy upstairs. And God gives, God takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And in all that, Job did not lose his spiritual integrity. So he wants us to be challenged in terms of what we think about God. The second thing is that Peter wants us to change our thinking about ourselves. When we're going through times of suffering, it is very easy for us to feel like we're victims. We're victims of whoever he is imposing those bad things in our lives. The believers were being persecuted for their faith, and it would be easy for them to think that they're victims. And Peter is saying, no, you are conquerors. You are victorious. You are the people of God. You're a holy nation. You're a holy priesthood. You're set aside to declare the good message of God, to declare his praises. And he wanted them to think of themselves that they're loved by God. And in the midst of all the difficulties, that God's heart still wanted to bless them. We need to have our thinking being challenged. We need to change our thinking when we go through suffering. With the coronavirus, a lot of us have been locked up, most of us around the world, and there's a friend of mine that loves to travel, and I called her up just to see how she was doing, if she was depressed, and I was shocked. She was far away from depressed. She's like, I'm working at home, I'm calling all my clients, I am exercising in the morning, I'm riding my bike, I am eating healthily, I signed up for a Skype class to study Spanish, I bought a Spanish novel, I am really busy. And that made me think, what are most people doing? We're sitting at home eating nachos and chips and watching TVs and binge watching and shows, and we are waiting to go back to the world that will no longer exist. And Peter is challenging the believers, think differently about your world. Think differently about how you see God, how you see yourselves. And you know what? After I got off the phone, after I got off the phone with my friend, I sat down and I wrote 7 goals down that I am preparing myself for life beyond the virus, because we're not going to go back to life as usual. So I want to think differently about our world, and I challenge you, what are you going to do when this is all over? Hugo Venegas from the First United Methodist Church in Pueblo, Colorado. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us for our daily devotional, Hope and Coffee, with Pastor Hugo Venegas. If you enjoyed today's devotion, like or subscribe below. We also welcome you to join our family at First United Methodist Church in Pueblo, Colorado. You can visit our website at firstumcpueblo.org, and we hope you continue to have a blessed day. We'll see you tomorrow.